Write this problem. The gas phase reaction A gives B plus C. The gas phase reaction A gives B plus C. Is carried out in a PFR. A plus B gives C. Is carried out in an ideal PFR, achieving 40% conversion of A. Achieving 40% conversion of A. The feed has 70 mole percent. Sorry, the reaction is A gives B plus C. A gives B plus C. 40% conversion of A. Feed has 70 mole percent A and 30 mole percent inerts. 70 mole percent A and 30 mole percent inerts. The inlet temperature is 300 Kelvin and the outlet temperature is 400 Kelvin. The ratio of outlet molar concentration to inlet molar concentration is the ratio of outlet molar concentration to inlet molar concentration is. So 0.47. Just read the problem carefully. So this will be the last but one class. Tomorrow is the last class of CRE. So I recommend you to read the entire concepts. If you have any doubts, clear in the class itself. So I'm telling, let's say, from last many days. So please, if you have any doubts, get it clarified in the class itself. So what is the ratio of C out, or let's say CA to CA naught? Suppose if you have, let's say, a PF or something like this. So you have the concentration going in CA naught. This is concentration CA. So what is CA to C? CA to CA naught is 1 minus XA by 1 plus EA XA. This is the ratio, no? But provided if CA naught and CA are at a same temperature. Provided if CA and CA naught is at the same temperature, then what is the ratio is? This we have done it for a isothermal temperature. Isothermal reactors. When we are designing PFR, we always assume that it is an isothermal reactor. We have never considered, let's say, temperature effects into the system. We always consider it as a isothermal reactors. Clear? Now, but what is this CSTR which is given, or PFR given? What is the inlet temperature is T naught? What is the outlet temperature is T? So this is CA by CA naught, 1 minus XA by 1 plus CA XA. So let's assume that inlet is at, and this is T naught and T naught. If the temperatures are same, suppose if the inlet is 300 Kelvin, outlet also 300 Kelvin, then what is CA at 300 Kelvin divided by CA naught is 1 minus XA by 1 plus CA XA. What is 1 minus CA XA? What is conversion given? 1 minus 0.4 divided by 1 plus EA into 0.4. But what is EA? How do you calculate EA? How do you calculate EA is? So if you take, let's say, 100 moles of feed, that means it contains 70 A 30 units. If they are converted 100%, then what is the product form, which is 70B, 70C, and 70 units. So what is EA is 210 minus 100, sorry, 30, which is 170. So this is 170 minus 100 divided by 100, which is 0.7. So what is this one is 1 minus 0.4 divided by 1 plus 0.7 into 0.4. So what is this value is 0.45, or let's say 0.47. Clear? So what is the ratio of concentrations is 0.47. Now, what is this is given is CA at the rate of 300 Kelvin is nothing but 0.47 into CA naught. Clear? What is the concentration at 300 Kelvin? But what we need to calculate is concentration at the rate of 400 Kelvin, because your outlet gas is coming at 400 Kelvin. So what is the concentration as a function of temperature? PV equal to nRT. Let's say PA equal to V into A into NA into RT, partial pressure. This is the equation. Now PA by RT is equal to concentration of A. So basically concentration of A is inversely proportional to temperature. So what it tells you is Ca at the rate of 400 Kelvin into 400, which is equal to Ca at the rate of 300 Kelvin into 300. But what is Ca at the rate of 300 Kelvin is 0.47 into Ca naught into 300 divided by 400, which is nothing but Ca naught at 400 Kelvin. So what he has asked, concentration at the outlet divided by what is inlet concentration Ca naught is nothing but 0.47 into 300 by 400, which is nothing but 0.35. Suppose somebody will answer this question as 0.47. This is also one of the options. So you will be misleading this option. Ca into T is constant. This is for PFR. If CSTR is also answer doesn't change because it is basically temperatures, no? You are playing. So then we have one topic left, which is actually deactivations of the catalyst. So basically it is how deactivation takes place in the catalyst. So clear. So next one is, we'll take one topic which is left last on, is what is deactivation of catalyst. This is added this year, new topic. Deactivation of the catalyst. So basically, what could be the reasons of the catalyst deactivation? What is meaning of, let's say, catalyst deactivation is the performance of the catalyst is decreasing. Let's say the performance is, let's say if you are talking about conversion with respect to time, if you see, this is how the performance of the catalyst. So the conversion maybe, let's say 60% to maybe it is dropping up to, let's say 55 or let's say 50%, something like this. Slowly the catalyst is deactivating. Clear? So what could be the reasons of the deactivation? So what are the reasons for deactivation is what we need to study here. So what could be the reasons for, let's say, deactivation? So some of the, let's say, one reason which is called as sintering of, let's say, metals, or let's say agglomeration of metals. So what happens here is, suppose if you have a catalyst something like this surface, then this is what happens when you are talking about, let's say, platinum type of the catalyst. Let's say if you take reforming reactions, where platinum is the catalyst. So you have a support something like Al2O3. On top of this one, platinum is dispersed, something like this. This is how it is dispersed on a fresh catalyst. Now, what happens is, after the reaction, after some time, then what happens is the platinum will agglomerate something like this. So all the platinum will agglomerate something like this. This is called as metal sintering, or let's say agglomeration of the catalyst. So this is one of the reasons for the deactivation of the catalyst. Clear. So this is what is called as structural modification of the catalyst. So this is what you call it as structural modification. So this is structurally modifying the catalyst. So what is a catalyst deactivation? Basically, catalyst deactivation is the performance of the catalyst is decreasing with respect to time. So today I am starting my plant, I am getting, let's say, 60% conversion. Slowly, let's say after 1 year or 2 years, slowly the performance of the catalyst is decreasing. So what could be the reasons of the catalyst, or let's say what is the reason for the catalyst? There are multiple reasons. There are, let's say, multiple reasons. So one of the reasons is sintering of the metals. Sintering of the metals or agglomeration of the metals. So one example is reforming reactions. So reforming reactions. So what could be the reforming reactions? The catalyst is platinum. So for reforming reactions, platinum is the catalyst. So this is how, let's say, a support is there. On the support, the fresh catalyst of platinum is dispersed, something like this. So that means it is a clearly uniform dispersion on the surface. Now during the reaction, what happens is, because of the temperature, the platinum will form a clusters. The platinum will agglomerate and form this kind of clusters. Platinum will form this kind of clusters, which is, that is where the performance of the catalyst decreases. This is what is called as metal sintering or structural modification. The catalyst is structurally modifying. Clear? So that is the one of the reasons. Because at the high temperatures, the metals has a tendency to agglomerate and form clusters. Because these reactions are happening at, let's say, 600 degrees or let's say 550 degrees. So at high temperatures, the metals has a reason, or let's say metals has a tendency to form clusters, and then that is where the deactivation. Now how do you reactivate the catalyst? Is by redispersing this platinum. So that is why if you go to any reformer, you will have a regenerator sitting side by side. The catalyst will be moving. You have a reactor, regenerator. The catalyst will be moving. So that is catalyst you are moving. Or let's say in the olden days, what happens is you have two catalyst bed. One will be in the reaction mode. Another will be in the regeneration mode. How do you regenerate catalyst? Is you will pass some chemical medium, basically chlorine, so that the chlorine will disperse the catalyst once again back to the system. So in the olden days reformers, if you see, you will have a fixed bed reactors where one is reactor, one is regenerator. Nowadays, the technology is so advanced. Catalyst on its own moves from the reactor to the regenerator. So it is a cyclic operation. So that and all not required, but I say catalyst reason for the catalyst. One of the reason is sintering of the metals. FCC is different kind of deactivation, I'll tell you. Then another thing is, so another thing is, let's say feed. So another thing is, suppose if you have, let's say A gives B and A gives D, A gives, let's say C. So let's say this C is something which deposits on the surface. This C is something which deposits on the surface, which deposits on the surface. So the C has a tendency, this is my product B, but this A can form, or let's say this A can form a product basically which deposits on the surface. So B, this is called as parallel deactivation. This is called as parallel deactivation. Yeah, this is, but we can do kinetics to reduce the C formation, but we cannot eliminate it. Complete elimination is not possible, no? This is what is called as parallel deactivation. So another thing is, you have A gives B, B gives C, where C deposits on the catalyst. C deposits. So deposits on the surface. So this is called as series deactivation. Series deactivation. One example is you have ethane to, let's say, ethylene formation, and ethylene gives, let's say, benzene. This benzene gives, let's say, naphthalene. This naphthalene is something, naphthalene is a bigger molecule. So this is something which deposits on the catalyst. Which deposits on the catalyst. So this is one example. So ethylene forms, let's say, ethane forms ethylene, ethylene forms benzene, and benzene further forms naphthalene. So the naphthalene is something which deposits on the surface. So this is called as series activation. Basically, in parallel and series activation, your basic criteria is unwanted product depositing on the surface. Unwanted product is depositing on the surface. Just I'm giving enough time so that you will write all the points in the notes. Depositing on the surface of catalyst. Depositing on the surface of catalyst. Then another important reason is impurities in the feed. Let's take impurities in the feed. Could be one of the reasons. This is what you call it as, let's say, side-by-side deactivation. All these terminologies, side-by-side deactivation. So one of the examples is, suppose if you are talking about, let's say, reforming reaction, steam reforming of methane, CH4 plus H2O gives CO plus 3H2O. This is one of the reaction. Now, where do you get the CH4? CH4 is nothing but the natural gas, no? Natural gas. What is the catalyst which is used here? Nickel is the catalyst. So natural gas contains sulfur. Natural gas contains sulfur. So this sulfur deposits on the surface. Deposits on the surface and, let's say, deactivates. That is why if you visit any hydrogen plants, you will have a natural gas. So that is why if you see natural gas going to, let's say, sulfur removal, then only will send it to the reactor. So you have a natural gas which is going to the sulfur removal unit, then you are going to the reactor. So this natural gas contains sulfur. So the sulfur deposits on the surface and then the catalyst deactivates. One of the examples is steam reforming of methane. So the steam reforming of methane has a nickel catalyst, nickel which is dispersed on, let's say, support Al2O3. So this nickel is prone to, let's say, deactivation with sulfur. So if the sulfur comes in contact with nickel, then this gets deactivated. So that is why what happens is in hydrogen plants or in ammonia plants, and if you visit any ammonia plants also, you have a sulfur removal section. So the sulfur removal section. So why this is, this natural gas contains some sulfur. That sulfur will go to sulfur removal unit. You are removing the sulfur, then only you are sending it to the reactor, let's say, so that you will get the CO plus H2 at the end of the reactor. Suppose if you don't have the sulfur removal unit, then the catalyst which is sitting in the reactor section will be deactivated. Well, these are the four types of deactivation. So one is, what is the role of Al2O3? Al2O3 is the support. On the support only we are dispersing the catalyst. When we are talking about chapter 5, I explained how the catalyst metal is dispersed over the surface. So these are the multiple reasons for the catalyst deactivation. So Al2O3 doesn't participate in the reaction. This is only a support. Clear? So one of the examples of, let's say, FCC, if you see the plant of, let's say, FCC, fluid catalytic cracking. So what is the fluid catalytic cracking is, you take long chain molecules, something like C10, etc., and break them into, let's say, C5, C6. So C5, C6 can be, let's say, something like diesel, or let's say, or naphtha. So you will produce small components so that it will be used for blending with gasoline, or let's say diesel or something like that. So this is the basic fluid catalytic cracking. So what is the mechanism here? Here also catalyst deactivates. Here also catalyst deactivates. So what is the mechanism is, C10 can form C5 or C6. This C5 can form directly coke, which is simple C. So this coke deposits on the catalyst. So this coke, or let's say this C5, can convert further into coke also. This is my product. It can be A gives B gives C, or it can be A gives C also. So all this coke is something which deposits on the catalyst. That is why in FCC what happens is, in FCC you have a regenerator, and you have a reactor. So reactor. So the catalyst is continuously moving from reactor to the regenerator. So that is how the catalyst is continuously moving from regenerator to the reactor. So you have, let's say, M, which is coming M. In the reactor, what happens is it becomes M dot C. What is M dot C is coke is deposited on the catalyst. What is this M dot C is you will send oxygen here, basically air, you will burn it in terms of CO2. So that you will take it out. So that is the simple FCC, fluid catalytic cracking, where coke is the deposition of the catalyst, or coke is the one which deposits on the surface of the catalyst. Where what is the catalyst here? Simple zeolites. So on the zeolites means it is a porous structure. Inside the pores, this coke will go and deposit. So that is where it is making the catalyst to deactivate. So how do you operate this one is reactor regenerator. Maybe I will show you one of the pictures. So have we written this one? So I'm going to disconnect this screen to share you something. I'll show you how FCC reactor looks like. MC means coke deposited on the catalyst. Can you see the screen now? So this is what is a simple FCC reactors looks like. This is what is reactor I told. This is where the, let's say, feed. VCO means vacuum gas oil or residual. This vacuum gas oil means it is heavy oil which contains C10, C15. So this is the catalyst which is traveling through the riser. When it is traveling through the riser, then what happens is through the riser the reaction happens and coke deposits on the catalyst. So when it goes to this particular part of, let's say, stripper, if you see that stripper where the gas or let's say products will come out, and the catalyst which travels through this one and will come to the regenerator. So this bigger one is the regenerator, this is the reactor. So the catalyst will be traveling like this. The catalyst will be traveling like this from the reactor to the regenerator, where in the regenerator you pass air and then spent, or let's say burn in the system. So like this you can see in Google, I just type FCC reactor. So all these FCC reactors are simple. So you have a feed oil coming in, here this is, and then this is a reactor where you have a reaction taking place and coke deposited on the catalyst. That coke will be going through the regenerator, and from the regenerator it is going, once it is regenerated, you pass air, all the coke will be burned and it is coming as CO2 and finally it comes out. Clear? So like this you can get many pictures of FCC, but all the principles of FCC will remain same. So the FCC reactors, so this is the FCC reactors that you see, how big the regenerator is, manufactured by L&T. If you see the Reliance FCC reactor, that is the biggest reactor in the world, FCC, having almost 20 meters diameter and then almost 40 meters height. FCC reactors are like that. Clear? So this is how FCC inside looks like. Regenerator inside. This is once the regenerator catalyst regenerates, then that catalyst has to be separated from the CO2. See, catalyst with the coke is coming. You are burning with the air. CO2 forms. Now in the reactor, what happens? CO2 plus catalyst is there. That CO2 plus catalyst, how do you separate is the cyclone separators. These are the cyclone separators. So this is how inside the FCC regenerator looks like. Clear? Maybe I'm stopping sharing so that I will take your doubts. So does everybody has seen, let's say, this happens continuously. This is a continuous process. No, I'm explaining FCC because you will get the feel of what is, let's say, catalyst deactivation. Now, how do you find the rate of equations? Let's say, what is, let's say, rate of deactivation? Rate of deactivation. So how do you find? So what you do is you simply write, let's say, dA by dt, which is equal to some A power D. What is this D? Is nothing but the deactivation coefficient. Now what happens is your minus dCA by dt, suppose your minus dCA by dt is rate of reaction, which is equal to KCA into, now A comes into picture. What is this A? Is nothing but the take care of deactivation of the catalyst. How do you find this A? Is from this simple minus dA by dt equal to A power T. So what do you do is you solve this dA power dt equal to A power D and substitute that A here. Then you solve the overall equation. Then you will get the concentration which is decreasing with respect to time. So this is what is the, how do you find the rate of deactivation? What is D? Is the deactivation coefficient. Deactivation coefficient. Deactivation coefficient. So this is all deactivation of the catalyst, very simple one. So basically, I think gate point of view, what he can ask is, let's say, what could be parallel deactivation, or let's say A is something which talks about the deactivation. I have captured because, see, without deactivation, what is my equation? Minus dCA by dt is equal to Ca. Now with the deactivation, I need to include some deactivation term now, which is K. So how do you solve this? A is, for A you have another equation, minus d by dt equal to A power D. So this is how the deactivation, minus dA by dt equal to A power D is something, how the deactivation is changing with respect to time. That you have to substitute here and then solve this equation. I think this deactivation rate equation solving may not be important, not that much gate point of view, but really what is important is, so what is the mechanisms of deactivation? So we have discussed multiple mechanisms of deactivation: parallel deactivation, series deactivation, side by side deactivation. So like that, what is the varieties of deactivation? One is it can form, or let's say the reaction can form side products which further, let's say, deposits on the surface of the catalyst. So that is where it deactivates the catalyst. That is one reason. Another reason is there could be some impurities inside the catalyst, which are some impurities along with the feed. So one of the examples is steam reforming of methane. So another one is fluid catalytic cracking. Another one is sintering. So I told you 3 industrial examples. For each deactivation, I have given an industrial example. Naphtha reforming is the metal sintering example. FCC is like parallel and series activation, and steam reforming of methane is side by side deactivation. So any doubt up to this point? So basically performance equation means, so with the deactivation, you need to capture in your rate equation. This is my rate equation. I need to capture my deactivation A, which is A is nothing but the deactivation rate. But the deactivation also changes with respect to time, no? When the catalyst is fresh, there is no deactivation. With respect to time, this is how the deactivation changes. Minus dCA by dt equal A power T. The deactivation can be, let's say, first order, second order, third order dependence. So the deactivation has to be combined along with the main equation. That is where you will get the rate of deactivation of the catalyst, is what I am trying to explain. Catalyst poisoning. Catalyst poisoning or deactivation are same. Catalyst poisoning is the term which you use for the poisons. What is the poison? Sulfur is a poison, no? Somebody is asking to repeat the industrial examples. What is FCC? FCC is an example for, see, in FCC, why the catalyst is deactivating? Because coke is depositing. Where the coke is forming from the feed itself, no? So in FCC, the feed forms a side product which is coke that gets deposited on the surface of the catalyst, which is actually parallel or series deactivation. What is another thing is feed. Along with the feed, if some poisons comes, let's say sulfur in the natural gas deactivates the nickel catalyst, which is side by side deactivation. What is another thing is metal sintering. So the platinum on the steam reforming of meat, or let's say reforming catalyst, will get agglomerated at the higher temperature. That is where the performance equation changes. That is what is the metal sintering. FCC is CSTR kind of thing because you are continuously mixing now. So maybe I'll take, I think this is what is deactivation. I'll show you variety of reactors maybe in the internet. So maybe you can Google it out on your own also. So this is what is, just now I'll show some, let's say industries type of the reactor, so that this is just only for knowledge point of view, not important gate point of view. So maybe I'll share my screen. You can Google on your own also, no issues. Can you see my screen? Now can you see my screen? Let's say boiling water reactor. This is what I have shown it as, let's say, methanol reactors. So methanol reactors are like this. Boiling type water type of, let's say, boiling water reactor, let's say methanol. So this is methanol type of reactors, as I told you. So how does the methanol type of reactors like is? You have a synthesis gas coming in and then product is coming out. Water goes inside the shell and then you have a steam generation where steam is taken out. Why this type of reactions? Because when you are talking about, let's say, when I'm talking about exothermic reversible reactions, you have to take out heat continuously. That is where actually we'll have this kind of reactors. So what is another type of reactors is? So what is another type of reactors that you can search? Let's say reformers, or let's say steam reformers. Maybe I'll show you, let's say Topsoe reformers. So this is how the reformers looks like. So this is a reactor. If you see what you are seeing is a reactor. How does inside looks like this reformer is? Something like this. So this is how. Inside you have a tubes hanging. Within the tubes you have a catalyst loaded, and these burners which are there is giving heat of reaction. Suppose if you are talking about endothermic reactions, so the catalyst is loaded inside the tubes. The catalyst is loaded inside the tubes. So who will supply the heat? The fire that you see on the top is the burners, which talks about, let's say, or let's say which sees, basically which releases the heat. That heat will be gained by the catalyst which is inside the tubes. This is one of the examples of a steam reforming of methane, which is highly endothermic reaction. So this is where you do the endothermic, this type of reactions. And I have shown you, let's say, FCC type of reactors. Then let's say I'll show you another example, which is naphtha reforming. That is where actually another type of reactors comes into picture. Naphtha reforming. So the naphtha reforming is this type of reactors. So if you see, you have a regenerator. You have a regenerator and you have a reactor. So the catalyst slowly, what is the difference between FCC and this one is, both are same. Only thing is, in FCC, the catalyst moves at a faster rate. In naphtha reformer, the catalyst moves at a slower rate. You have a regenerator. This green color is a regenerator. This blue color is a reactor. So the catalyst slowly moves from top to bottom, or let's say top to bottom. So that is where the catalyst gets deactivated. So it goes to the regenerator and gets deactivated and then comes back. This is what is the platinum catalyst that you see in the naphtha reformer. So the platinum gets sintered during the reaction, that will be dispersed in the regenerator. So this is one of the, let's say, the types. So any doubts, I can take maybe in between doubts also. So you have any doubts? So this is one of the examples. What else could be the reactors? I think EO reactors, ethylene oxide reactors. Ethylene oxide is also similar to methanol type of reactors. Ethylene oxide reactors. So if you see ethylene oxide reactor, so many number of tubes are packed inside this one. So which is similar to boiling type of reactors, EO reactors. So maybe you can see, let's say, EO reactors inside. So maybe so this is how I'm not getting right pictures here. So this is how let's say, I don't know, this is not. Bells inside tubes. So this is how, let's say, EO reactor inside the tubes. I don't know. I am not getting, let's say, right pictures, but this is how the reactors looks like. You have ethylene plus oxygen, which goes to the similar boiling water reactor basically. Ethylene oxygen or ethylene oxide reaction is also extremely highly exothermic reaction. So that is where you will control the heat of reaction by, let's say, water on the other side. So any doubts till now? Say EO reactor for Reliance is also there. EO reactor, Reliance is a big business. But if you get to see the Reliance, you see FCC reactor, which is the world scale biggest reactor in the world, which is, it is the biggest FCC regenerator. Ethylene oxide reactions are something like 250 to 300, where you are generating the steam. Ethylene oxide temperatures are 250, I think, in the range of 300, not more than that. And then another thing that you see is slurry bubble reactors. Slurry bubble reactors, which you see, Fischer-Tropsch synthesis. Fischer-Tropsch synthesis is in the World War II. What happens is Germany and all, so they are not getting the oil. Reason because actually because of the World War. So let this is Gulf countries has stopped giving the oil to, let's say, this German or let's say and all. Then what they have done is only whatever they have is a gas, natural gas. They don't have any oil reserves. Then what happens is this gas, what they have done is using the natural gas, they have produced synthesis gas. From the synthesis gas, they produced the oil. They produced the oil. Slurry bubble reactors, let's say, Fischer-Tropsch synthesis. Fischer-Tropsch synthesis. Still, even in, let's say, South Africa, you see, let's say, half of the oil is coming from the Fischer-Tropsch synthesis only. So what is Fischer-Tropsch synthesis is, you generate syngas. Syngas, how do you generate? You take methane, mix it with the steam, you get syngas. That syngas will be used to produce, let's say, diesel, petrol, and everything. So this is how the slurry bubble reactor looks like. So you have so in between also you have the tubes to remove all the heat. So basically what is slurry bubble reactor is, you have a liquid and catalyst is dispersed in the liquid and you pass gas through that liquid. So is what is called a slurry bubble. Whatever the bubbles that you see here is the gas which is passing through the slurry, where you have a catalyst particles also. So this is what is slurry bubble reactors for a Fischer-Tropsch synthesis. This is one of the examples of Fischer-Tropsch synthesis, or let's say Sasol is the one company which makes, let's say, this Fischer-Tropsch or let's say gas oil on a bigger scale. So this is one type of reactors that you see. So I have shown you multiple type of reactors that you see industrially. What are them? I shown packed bed reactors. You don't need to see. Packed bed reactors are simple reactors that you see anyway. Then reformers, I have shown it to you. Reformers for the, let's say, methane, steam methane reforming. And then trickle bed reactors are three-phase reactions is the hydro. Maybe I'll show you. Trickle bed reactors is packed bed reactors. Reactor wise, you don't see anything here. But trickle bed reactors, what is important thing is the nozzle, which is actually, so the trickle bed reactor you will use in hydro treating. Hydro treating, you see, let's say trickle bed reactors. So what is important here is the nozzle, which is actually the important thing. The nozzle design. So I think the quench nozzle, which is on the top, like this is what is the trickle bed reactors looks like. So this inlet nozzle, or let's say inlet top device, is extremely important here. So in trickle bed reactors, in hydrotrators, you see hydrogen injecting in the middle of the pipes, like you see, you don't know. So maybe you can see here itself. So you have the quench nozzles also. This quench nozzles are there, quench gas. You see this quench gas introduced and designed. This is where you inject the hydrogen. So that is where I showed you how do you inject hydrogen in the middle of the reactor. So there are two purposes to here. So one is it will act as a parallel, like I showed the kinetics where let's say one is positive kinetics, one is negative kinetics. Then what do you do is you inject the in parallel streams. So here it acts that purpose maybe, or it will act as a quench gas. So that means heat temperature rises. So the temperature rise will be quenched by this system also. That is also one of the purposes. So this is variety of reactors. If you see, if you go to one of the refinery, you will see all sorts of these reactors. A single visit to a refinery will give you most of the reactors, except let's say slurry bubble reactors. So in a refinery, hydrogen plant, if you see, you will get to know, let's say reformer. If you see hydrotreater, it is a trickle bed reactor. If you see FCC, it is a fluid acid bed reactor, which is most of the CSTR type. If you go to, let's say, reformer, naphtha reforming unit, which is actually a moving bed type of reactor. So a simple refinery will have multiple type of reactors. Clear? So like if you refinery come petrochemical industries like Reliance, which is not a refinery, which is actually a refinery petrochemical complex. That is where, let's say, you have ethylene oxide, ethylene glycol, all these plants. So we will get to know other type of, let's say, reactions also. So whereas if you see IOCL, HPCL, IOCL is to some extent a player of petrochemicals, What is HPCL is pure refinery. What is difference between refinery and petrochemicals is refinery which talks about only fuels, diesel, petrol, jet fuel, something like this. Petrochemicals means it produces ethylene, polyethylene, propylene, polypropylene, something like that. So this is what I think I would like to, let's say, catalyst deactivation, and I showed you, let's say, some of the industrial reactors also. So would you like to know any other topic in CRE as, let's say, a practical point of view that we can discuss? So I think I have left with 20 minutes. Maybe I'll solve one problem. Let's write this problem. Find a mechanism that is consistent find a mechanism that is consistent with the rate equation and reaction given below. Find a mechanism that is consistent with the reaction and rate equation given below. First one. I think I'll write little small letters. 2A plus B gives A to B minus R equal to K CA CB. So what is first one is A plus B gives AB plus A gives A to B. This is one thing. A plus B, reversible AB plus A is A to B. A plus A gives A plus B, reversible A to B. A plus A gives A plus B gives A to B. These are four options. A, B, C, D. Which mechanism is consistent with the given data? Option A and B are not same. See the reversible sign. Here this is reversible, here this is reversible. Here this is single, this is reversible, this is reversible, this is single. So which one is fast, reversible or irreversible? Reversible means they are fast. This is, let's say, slow. So I will take one of the options. Let's take D. Then this is your governing rate of reaction, no? So what is my rate is equal to K into CAA CB. CAA can you measure? You can't measure. So what is CAA is intermediate, no? So let's say this is K1, this is K2. Then how do you write this equation? K1 CA square into K2 CAA. So what you can write? So CAA can be written as CA equal to K1 CA square by K2 into CB. All these are constants. K into CA square into CB. So this is the rate equation if you consider this one. K into CA square into CB. Suppose if you take this one, which one is, this is slow, this is fast. Then what is my rate is equal to KCA square. Do you need to substitute anything? Why we have substituted CA here is CA is an intermediate. So that is why we have substituted. Here there is no intermediate, directly CA square rate. Then what is rate here? So if you follow this equation, what do you get as rate is same KCA square CB. So if you follow first one, then this is the slowest one, which is KCA CB. So if you follow this one. So the consistent mechanism is, which is consistent along with this one is B. Why reversible is fast? Because since this is the slowest reaction, the other reaction will get enough time, it will reach reversible. We have already discussed. So basically I'll explain one thing. So I'll take option D. How do you take option D is, this is the slow reaction, fast reaction, this is the slow reaction. What is rate? Rate of overall reaction is rate of this step, which is K into CAA into CB. But what is CAA? How do you write CAA is from this equation. So K1 CA square into K2 CAA. In place of CAA, I can substitute K1 CA square by K2. So all this case will become constant. So I'm getting a rate expression KCA square CB. So which is not consistent with the given rate equation, which is KCA CB. So that is why this is not the answer. Option B. What is option B? This is your governing, no? KCAB into CA. So what is CAB? CAB is nothing but KCACB. So that is why in place of CAB into CA, I put CACB. You will get the same answer, CA square CB. Option B and D are same, no? Whereas option C, no need to substitute anything because directly rate of this reaction is KCA square, no intermediates. Similarly, option A, no intermediates, KCACB. Why reversible is fast? Because that fast reaction is, fast reactions are reversible. Don't get it as reversible as fast. fast reactions will get enough time so that it will reach reversibility. So can you draw the concentration profiles for next problem? Suppose if you take A gives B, A gives C, 1, 1. Can you draw concentration profiles? Let's say I am interested to draw concentration of A and so what is concentration of A is decreases something like this. Concentration of A. So what is concentration of B? Concentration of B is dCB by dT, which is equal to Ca, dCc by dt, which is also Ca. So both the rates are same. Then what is the formation of B and C? Formation of B and C will be exactly same. Cb and Cc, both are same. This is how the concentration profiles. Ca decreases, Cb, Cc. Suppose can you draw concentration profiles of A gives B, C, where is this is 1, this is 4. Then what happens? A decreases like this, B rate is 1, so B slowly increases. This is, let's say, A. What is C is 4 times. That means the concentration of C increases like this. So this is some profiles. I think it is almost 7:50, so we'll stop it here. So we'll draw some more profiles tomorrow. Why concentration of B? It may not be low, or let's say A. So there is no standard rule like A should be like this. A can be like this also. As you go move on, B will overcome A because A will eventually reach 0. No? So we'll take doubts. If you have any doubts, we'll clear doubts. So tomorrow will be only problem solving section. Yeah, this is with respect to time. Concentration. So please let me know your doubt. For infinity long cylinders, the Thiele modulus is infinity because M into L. Yes, 1 is the highest value of effectiveness factor. Yes, the previous question correct option is A. ఇక్కడ ఉంటుంది ఈ పార్ట్ కొంచెం పక్కగా ఉంటుంది అక్కడ వస్తుంది నీకు ఎక్కడ ఉంది ఇంకా కొంచెం ఇటు పక్క అంటే ఇంకా గ్యాస్ So the correct option is A. So I think we are not getting any doubts, so I'm leaving the session.